So, hello friends of Airtable, welcome to another video. Today I would like to show you how to scrape data from TikTok and save that data in Airtable. Let's get started. So we're here in the browser and I've written down a little bit of an outline. So what do we want to do? We want to scrape video data from TikTok. The first thing is that we want to get familiar with the platform that we want to use for it, which is called Apify, which is basically a scraping platform which provides an API which we can use to fetch data from that API. Then we go into Airtable, we will build the base and the table, and we run that scraper in Airtable on a button click, and we save the data. Pretty straightforward. So what's Apify? I'm logged in here with my account. You can create a free account for I think you get $5 in credit. As you can see, I've bought some credits here, but you get $5 for free when you get started with this. And in Apify, you can write your own web scrapers, but you can also use existing scrapers that other people from the community have written. I've opened this here, it's called the Apify store, and in the store you can search for various scrapers, for instance for a TikTok scraper. And there's a free and a paid one that someone wrote. The paid one is pretty expensive. For our purposes the free one is enough. It basically has the limitation that you can only scrape 20 results at a time. So if you want to scrape like all the videos of a given profile, then you would have to go for the paid version. But for our purposes and what we are going to build now, the free version is completely fine. So I've installed this here in my account already, and I'm in that scraper now. Basically what we can do here is we can put a hashtag in, which we don't want to do. What we're trying to do is we want to scrape the video data for specific videos. So we are putting in specific URLs, and we want to scrape that data for that specific video URL on TikTok. So we could also put a profile in, but specific URLs, direct URLs is what we are trying to do. And you have this sort of visual editor, and you can also run the scraper from here, which, I mean, let's just do it. I take a random video, which is this bread video here, and I take the URL, and I add it here, and then you can click and save on save and start. And this is running the what's called actor. So it's running the scraper that someone else wrote for us. And it takes a while. The scraper goes on the website, opens that link, and selects or scrapes various data points from that site. As you can see here, it's formatted, or in this overview, it's formatted really nicely. So it gives us the duration, number of digs, or number of likes, of shares, views, comments, and lots more. So usually this should be a little bit faster. Output, there we go. So we've taken the video, it's 150 seconds long, it has 423,400 likes and so on. So we get all that data, which is sort of saved in this data set. And we can go on a preview here and we get like a nice JSON formatted file with all that data inside. Perfect. So this basically shows how the scraper is running. What we can do with Apify is we can start these scrapers via the API. So you can click on here in the right hand corner, and you get these various API endpoints with which you can run, in this case, the actor. And that's what we want to do. But we not only want to run the actor, we also want to get the dataset items right after it. So we start the actor, and then we also collect the dataset items. This is basically this endpoint here, to which we can send a post request and a payload, and we get that those dataset items back. What we can also do is when we make that request, we can pass certain parameters in the body of that request, in order to tell the scraper where to scrape. So if we go to the JSON editor here, you can see that everything we can put in here in the visual editor, we can also add it in JSON. So the post URLs, basically the URL are just added, which is just getting put in here as an array of strings, an array of URLs. And here we can set things like results per page. In our case, it's 20 because the free version of the TikTok scraper doesn't allow for more than 20 items. So 20 is actually the maximum anyways. So these input parameters is what we want to give the scraper as well when we run this from Airtable. So let's go into Airtable. I've created a base here already, which I call TikTok scraper. And in here, there's a table. Let's call this table videos. And then the primary field of that table is the URL. And then there's a button, which is called run script. Let's actually call this run scraper. Run scraper. And then I have various fields that I would like to fill. Like when was the video created, how long is it, how many likes does it have, how many shares, how many views, how many comments. There are a couple more data items we can collect, and we see that in a minute, but yeah, that's enough for the start. So let's put in the URL of our video that we had before. I still have it saved. So I put it in here, and that's basically the URL that we want the scraper to visit once we click on that button. That button runs the script here on the right hand side under extensions, and we can go in our script editor and write the code for this. The first thing we want to do is we want to select the table, where we say base get table, or base called videos. And then we need to make sure that the button is actually working on the script. So we want to select a record, and that's an asynchronous function where we need to say input record async. The first argument for this is something that we tell the user, please select the record. In our case, it's done via button most likely, but you can also do this in the script itself if you run the script on the right hand side. So you say please select the record, and then you need to say where that record lives, in our case in the table. So if I would run this, it's an asynchronous method, so it's now waiting till I have selected a record, and I can select this record, and then of course nothing else happens because we didn't write any other code at this point. Now we want to send a request to the Apify API, and we want to run our actor, and we want to collect the data set of that actor run. So we get a response for this const response await. We use the fetch API, and now the URL of the API, which as we've seen before we get from Apify directly. So we run the actor synchronously, and we get those dataset items. So you can copy that and we paste it in. Now we need to still tell it like what to scrape for, basically. So we need to give it a little bit more, which we do by passing more arguments to this. So the first thing we need to tell it is what kind of method is this? Method post. We also need to pass a header, which is content type application JSON. So basically we need to tell it that we are sending JSON data. And then the body is where we now give it our arguments in this JSON object that we paste here. And what we put in here we've seen before as well, because that's basically this. From Apify, we can just paste this in here. Results per page, 20. We use a proxy, and then the post URLs. The post URL is of course not static. The post URL is dynamic, and we want to get the post URL from the record that got selected. So here, instead of putting a static string in here, we say record get cell value URL. So we add that URL from the record. It's complaining. It says object is possibly null. Yeah, maybe. Not really in our case, but let's just do it in a way that the compiler isn't complaining anymore. So now that's gone. So what we're doing here is we are running the actor and we're getting something back. So let's see what we're getting back. We're console logging await response.json. So we need to parse basically what we're getting back there as JSON. And we pick a record. So if we're picking the record, basically we're selecting the URL in our table. We click on it. This takes a moment. And we get something back. We get an object back. And we get an object back with basically the same data that we've seen before when we were here under runs and we had seen the output of that run, or under storage, basically that JSON. And that's exactly what we're getting back now. So we're getting an array back with an object, and in that object we have all the keys and the values. So dig count, so amount of likes, amount of shares, amount of comments, hashtags that were used for this video, and so on. So that's pretty cool. Created time as well. This is pretty cool, and we can actually use this now to save it in our table. The first thing I want to do is I want to save this as the result. So say const result is response.json. And then we can update the record. We say if result. So only if something's coming back, we're updating the record. And then we say await table.update record. The first thing for update record sync is we need to give it the record ID, which we get from above from the record, from the record variable, which we define in the beginning. And then we need to tell it what to update. And the first thing we want to update is, let's say, number of comments. So number of comments, we check our response or our result from before, and the number of comments we get under comment count. And what you have to pay attention to is that this is actually an array of objects. So you can't just do result.comment count. It should also give an error now. No, it doesn't. But anyways, you need to select the first item in that array and then .comment count. So let's do the rest. Number of likes, result, and then this is called dig count, number of shares, result, share count, and number of views, result dot play count. And I think we have also the date somewhere. No, duration in seconds is also good. Result 0. I think it's under video meta, exactly. Video meta dot duration, and created time, and date fields in Airtable take like an ISO or ISO formatted, however you call it, ISO formatted date as an input. So we can actually just take what we're getting back here. So the create time ISO. And this should work. Let's see. We select our record. See if we get an error. See if we get an error. No, this looks good. Let's close the editor. And there we go. We have the data for our video. So if I now go on TikTok and I select another video, say the second one here. Let's mute this. And I take the URL and I add it here and I say run scraper. Takes a moment, of course. And there we go. We get the stats for that video as well. This works with the free Apify account and with the free Airtable account. So you can get this to work completely for free. You can scrape, so you get $5 a month, I think, on Apify, as far as I remember. And the scraper basically can scrape 1,000 URLs for $1. So for $5, you should be able to scrape 5,000 URLs, which is quite a lot already. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Of course, there's like a lot of opportunity to expand this and to make it like work for a lot of URLs at a time. This, of course, is still a very manual process, but it was important for me to show you this and how it can also work on a free account. But if you're interested in automating this further, there's a lot of potential, of course. You could not use an extension, a scripting extension. You could use a scripting automation and use certain triggers or use a time trigger. You can run this on all your 100 videos once a day. In that case, I guess you would need the pro version of the scraper. So various ways of expanding this, but this was sort of the first starting point and the most basic way of scraping those stats. There's also more. Let me actually do one last thing. We say console log results again, just to see quickly how or what else we're getting back. Basically what we've seen before as well, but let's look at it again. There's more we can do, right? So there's something about the author. So who posted this and how many fans does that person have and how many hearts and how many videos posted and many things. As well as I mentioned before, the hashtags. So which hashtags were used for that video? Maybe that's interesting for you to have a catalog of all the hashtags that you've used. So yeah, this is also, it would also be possible to programmatically get those hashtags and save them in a multi-select field. And if you're interested in that, then please let me know in the comments, and I'll probably make another video for it in order to also show how to work with the multi-select field. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below, and see you next time.